The conference room is cold. Too cold. My boss, Jason, slides the performance review across the mahogany table like he's sliding a guilty verdict. His fingers stay flat on the paper. His eyes stay on mine. "We need to talk about your judgment," he says, voice smooth as oil. "Your analysis lacks clarity. Your conclusions jump. Honestly, I'm concerned you might be losing track of your own work." Losing track. Those words hit different because they're designed to. Around the table, 3 executives sit silent, watching. Their faces are neutral, but their eyes are hunting for cracks in mine. Jason opens a folder. Screenshots. My own words. But they're cropped, edited. Context is missing. He points to a line from a draft I never approved. A line he's now framing as my final recommendation. "This conclusion was reckless," he says. "And you presented it as fact." I didn't. I know I didn't. My heart pounds, but I keep my face still. If I defend myself now, I look emotional, desperate, unstable. He's already planted that seed with one word. Sanity. Not directly, but it's there. Losing track. Confused judgment. Unclear thinking. He leans back satisfied. The trap is set. And I'm supposed to either collapse or explode. I do neither. "Thank you for the feedback," I say quietly. "I'll review the documentation." The room shifts. That's not the reaction he expected. His jaw tightens almost invisibly. The executives exchange glances. One of them nods slightly, like something just confirmed. As I leave the conference room, I'm already cataloging. That screenshot. That phrase. That date. That smirk when he thought he'd broken me. He has no idea what he just started. Emails land in my inbox within the hour. "Great discussion today. Clear next steps forward." The language is corporate poison, designed to make today's ambush sound like collaboration. Jason CC'd 5 people. 5 witnesses to his version of events. I reply with one word, received. Then I go dark. My desk, my hands move without my permission. Opening old folders. Forgotten emails. Version histories that most people don't know exist. I start comparing. Jason's screenshots against my original drafts. The timestamps don't match. My analysis was submitted on March 14th. His screenshot is dated March 18th. 4 days later. And in those 4 days he changed the conclusion. My breathing gets shallow. This isn't carelessness. This is deliberate. I pull up the approval chain. Name. His name. The VP's name. All signed off on March 16th. But his edit came after approval. That's not just unethical. That's documented fraud. I export the logs. Label them by date. Save them to 3 separate devices. No drama. No confrontation. Just quiet, methodical protection. I've never been the type to scream. I've always been the type to survive. And surviving means having proof. By midnight, I've compiled a timeline spanning 6 months. 6 instances. 6 edits made after approval. 6 times he simplified my language, which really meant he deleted my caveats, my warnings, my careful analysis. He made my work look reckless so he could look decisive. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, knowing one thing with absolute certainty. He's terrified of what I know. He just doesn't know that I know yet. That's my advantage. I stop reacting and start investigating. This isn't personal anymore. It's procedural. Over the next week, I reconstruct a pattern that makes my stomach tighten. Project Alpha. My analysis, his simplification. Project Beta, same thing. Project Gamma. I find an email where he literally forwarded my recommendation to leadership, removed my name from the attachment, and added his own signature line. Each time the same move. Each time the pattern is identical. He waited until the room cleared. He made his edits. He updated the record. Then he presented it as his own work. Cleaned up, he'd say. Simplified. But I'm not the only one. I start cross-referencing with others' work. A colleague named Bernard had an analysis on market trends that vanished from the official file. Then it reappeared, credited to Jason, with a slightly different conclusion. I find an email where Bernard questioned the change. Jason's response was dismissive. Let's not overthink this. There's a witness. I don't contact Bernard yet. Keep watching. Keep archiving. And I realize something that changes everything. Jason hasn't done this just to me. He's built an entire career on this. He's stolen from at least 4 people that I can confirm. Which means there are more witnesses than he realizes. Which means he's made a mistake by trusting that everyone would stay silent. I won't stay silent. But I won't speak yet either. A meeting invite appears on my calendar. Strategy alignment. Jason, leadership, finance. I'm not listed as a required attendee, but the meeting includes discussion of my project analysis. Accept anyway. The day arrives. I walk into the conference room. Jason's face flickers. Surprise, annoyance, something else I can't name. He didn't want me here. Oh, good you're here, he says, the words hollow. I was just about to walk through the Q3 projections. He pulls up slides. My analysis, my data, my conclusions. But he's reframed everything. Where I said moderate risk, he says manageable. Where I recommended further testing, he says ready to proceed. The numbers are the same. The interpretation is his. Listen. I watch the executives' faces. They nod. They trust his tone. Authority is a powerful drug. When he finishes, I ask one question. What's the basis for the timeline adjustment? Silence. His jaw clenches. What do you mean? The original analysis recommended a 6-month validation period. The slides show 3 months. What changed? He smiles tightly. We discussed contingencies. When? In a previous meeting. Which one? He doesn't answer. Someone else jumps in to change the subject. Jason shoots me a look that says, we're not done. Later that afternoon, I screenshot both the meeting invite I received and the meeting invite before it was edited. I have the proof. I have the timestamps. I have the undeniable evidence that he manipulated the calendar to exclude me from decisions about my own work. I save the screenshots to my archive. That night someone messages me privately. Colleague from the meeting. Hey, was that timeline change in the original proposal? I don't answer with words. I forward the original proposal with the timestamp preserved. Then I wait. By morning, 3 people have messaged asking similar questions. The cracks are forming. An email arrives with the subject line. Routine follow-up discussion. It's from HR. They want to schedule a meeting to check in on how I'm adjusting to the feedback from the performance review. Standard procedure, they say. They're just being supportive. Accept immediately. No hesitation. No resistance. That probably surprises them. In the HR office, a woman named Carol sits across from me with a concerned expression that feels rehearsed. How are you feeling about everything? She asks gently. That feedback must have been surprising. I appreciate the company's commitment to accuracy, I say carefully. I want to make sure all feedback is based on documented facts. She relaxes slightly. I'm being cooperative, reasonable. Of course. That's exactly what we want to ensure. I have a question about documentation standards. I continue. How long does the company retain approval records? And what happens if files are edited after sign-off? Carol's expression shifts. She's recalibrating. I'm not defensive. I'm procedural. Well, she says slowly, there's a clear policy. Files shouldn't be edited after approval without documented change requests. And we retain everything for at least 7 years for audit purposes. And if someone did edit files after approval, what's the protocol? That would be a serious violation of process, she says, and I watch her realize what I'm implying. Is there something specific you're concerned about? I don't accuse. I ask, what if I wanted to verify the integrity of my project files? Is there a process for that? She nods, uncomfortable now. We can definitely audit file histories. Would you like me to set that up? I think that would be helpful, I say. For peace of mind. When the meeting ends, I send Carol a thank you email summarizing everything she told me about retention policies, audit procedures, and edit protocols. Perfectly. Professionally. That email becomes my anchor. If this escalates, her own words will frame the conversation. I don't need allies yet. I need alignment. An automated notice goes out. File retention freeze. Internal audit in progress. Subtle. Most people skim it and move on. I feel my hands start shaking. This changes everything. From this moment forward, nothing can be quietly deleted. Nothing can be accidentally lost. All files are locked in time. All histories are preserved. All edits are visible. Jason's confidence spikes instead of drops. He thinks the freeze protects him. That the company is finally supporting him. He doesn't understand that freezes preserve truth, not narratives. I organize my evidence into dated folders. Mirrored across 3 devices. Encrypted. Backed up. I stop contributing new analysis publicly. Instead, I let others fill the vacuum. And mistakes flood in immediately. Bad analysis. Flawed logic. Unsupported conclusions. I document each one with timestamp and date. No commentary. Just facts. The absence of my work becomes noticeable. Not loudly, but uneasily. In meetings, people pause. They ask questions. Someone says, "That doesn't seem right," and has to scramble to find backup without me there to provide it. Jason compensates by speaking more. Over-explaining. Contradicting himself between meetings because he's lost the thread of the original narrative. I mark each contradiction carefully. The clock is working for me now. And I haven't said a single accusatory word. A major setback happens on a project I warned about 8 months ago. My original analysis flagged the exact risk that just exploded. I'd written, "This approach is unsustainable. We'll see failures within Q3 if we proceed." We proceeded anyway. Now we're in Q3. And everything is failing. In a room full of executives, Jason brings it up. "We're dealing with some execution issues," he says smoothly. "But I want to note that there was some earlier confusion about the timeline. I think that contributed to where we are now." Earlier confusion. He's blaming me for the failure. He's reframing my warning as incompetence. I don't react. I don't defend. I simply open my notebook and write the date and time. Then I wait until the meeting ends. 15 minutes later, I send one email to the entire group. Subject: for reference. The body contains only my original analysis, forwarded intact, not reattached, preserving the original chain and timestamp. Just wanted to make sure everyone had the complete context, I write. The email lands like a stone in water. Replies stop. No one says anything for 2 hours. Then someone reacts with a thumbs up emoji. Another person asks a question my boss can't answer without contradicting himself directly. He responds vaguely about changed circumstances. Archive everything. Blame attempted. Blame deflected not through argument but through sequence. Not through emotion but through facts. He's still playing the old game. The game where volume wins. But the board has changed. And I'm the only one who sees it. After that email, everything shifts subtly. People start watching more closely. A colleague named Bernard lingers after meetings now, making eye contact with me in a way that feels intentional. Another coworker starts asking for original documents instead of summaries. They're not recruiting me. I'm not recruiting them. They're just aligning with reality. One afternoon, someone named Benson forwards me a document marked Personal Records. Shows an approval chain with timestamps. And the timestamps don't match the final signed version. That's not just unethical. That's traceable. I thank them and say nothing else. By end of week, 3 people have independently confirmed similar discrepancies in their own files. I don't ask them to. I don't encourage conspiracy. But when they ask me privately if I've noticed the same thing, I simply say yes. And I provide the original documents. Facts create their own gravity. None of these people want conflict. Neither do I. That's what makes this clean. We're not conspiring. We're aligning with reality. And reality doesn't need loyalty to be devastating. Just needs witnesses. And now I have them. The office feels different. Quieter. Like everyone is holding their breath. My boss schedules another review touchpoint. This time he brings charts, metrics, data visualizations designed to show my performance improving under his guidance. He speaks slowly, like explaining something fragile to a child. I just want to support your growth, he says. The words are poison wrapped in care. I listen to all of it. When it's my turn to speak, I ask one question. What system generated these metrics? He answers too fast. Wrong system. I noted immediately. Actually, he continues, let me check the date on these. They might be from the updated database. After the meeting, I pull the actual metrics from the correct source. I log access times. I check when the data was entered. His charts were generated on March 10th. But the data they referenced didn't exist until March 23rd, 13 days later. He created charts showing data that hadn't happened yet. That's not interpretation. That's not opinion. That's impossible. And it's documented. I add it to the timeline. Each piece alone looks harmless. Cropped screenshot. Calendar edit. Vague email. A wrong data source. But together they form a sequence. Pattern. Inevitability. He's building a story designed to make me look unstable. I'm building a sequence designed to make him look deliberate. Stories persuade. Sequences convict. Leadership announces a deeper review. An external firm will audit processes. My boss becomes sharper, more controlled overnight. He stops joking. He starts documenting everything. Late, too late after the fact. I'm invited to submit materials for the audit. I do exactly as requested. No commentary. No framing. No explanation. Just original documents in chronological order. Forwarded. Preserved. Timestamp. HR acknowledges receipt with a neutral response. Jason doesn't appear for 2 days. When he reappears, he asks me privately if I'm okay. I'm focused on accuracy, I tell him. He smiles tightly. It's the smile of a man doing calculations in real time. Trying to decide if I know. Trying to assess the damage. Keep my voice steady and brief. The meeting ends awkwardly. As he leaves, he says, "We'll get through this together." I don't respond. Together is not the word he wants preserved in writing. The audit starts without announcement. No grand introduction. Just quiet investigators accessing servers, reviewing access logs, examining calendars, requesting meeting recordings. I'm asked clarifying questions. Not accusatory. Just procedural. I answer calmly, referencing dates, not feelings. I provide documents without being asked for them. I volunteer information because my information is supported by evidence. Jason submits explanations heavy on justification, light on proof. His documents are late. His timeline is vague. His answers contain words like probably and likely and to the best of my recollection. I watch the contrast form naturally, organically. Audits don't care about charisma. They care about consistency. One auditor asks why certain files were renamed post-approval. Jason says it was cleanup. I provide the policy stating cleanup is prohibited after sign-off. I don't say it aloud. I attach it silently to the email. The call ends early. No conclusions shared. But pressure doesn't announce itself. It accumulates. That night I sleep better than I have in months. Under pressure, my boss overcorrects. In a group email to leadership, he references a conversation that never happened. Or at least not on the date he claims. I have the calendar to prove it. The meeting was scheduled for March 15th, but he's citing it as March 12th. I don't reply. But someone else does, confused. Wait, was that the meeting we postponed? Jason backtracks slightly. Yes, right, the rescheduled one. But there was no rescheduled one. There was only the original. He's confused now. Panicking. Mixing timelines. I add the email to the file. This is no longer about me. It's about reliability. Leadership hates uncertainty more than mistakes. Uncertainty erodes trust faster than anything else. Mistakes can be managed. Uncertainty means you can't predict what someone will do next. I continue my work quietly, delivering clean, uncontroversial results. No flourish. No risk. Let him be the variable. By now, the room feels different when I enter. Conversations pause. Not with hostility, with recalibration. People sense gravity shifting before they understand why. My boss requests a joint meeting with HR to clear the air. I agree immediately. Have no fear. I have documentation. In the meeting, he speaks first. He frames everything as mutual misunderstandings. Communication gap. Different working styles. I think we both could have handled things differently, he says, looking directly at me. Listen. I say nothing. When Carol asks me to respond, I keep my voice steady. I'm aligned with documented process, I say. And I'm happy to let the records speak. I reference nothing specific. No emotions. No accusations. Just that one phrase. Let the records speak. Carol asks for specific examples of the miscommunication. Jason provides anecdotes, stories, context. He paints himself as trying to help an overwhelmed employee. Provide files, original documents, timestamps. The contrast is stark. No arguing, no emotion. Just wait. After the meeting, Carol thanks us both and says they'll follow up. Jason avoids my eyes. In the hallway, he says quietly, "This didn't need to get complicated." I tell him, accuracy often feels that way. It's the first direct sentence I've spoken to him in weeks. And it lands harder than anger ever could. 'Cause it's not angry. It's just true. Without announcement, the org chart changes. Project ownership is reassigned. The project comes back to me. Pending review, the memo says. Temporary reallocation. Jason acts unfazed. He congratulates me publicly, and the praise feels rehearsed. I accept it neutrally, without triumph or relief. Just professional acknowledgement. Behind the scenes, access permissions change. He loses edit rights on files he once controlled. I gain visibility into decisions I was previously excluded from. The shift is quiet but total. And immediately the work improves. No more mistakes. No more gaps. The analysis flows clearly. The data aligns. The team moves with purpose instead of confusion. The office relaxes. People focus. The air clears. This contrast speaks louder than any accusation ever could. Why were things unstable before? No one asks it aloud. They don't have to. The answer is obvious. And that obviousness is a kind of justice all on its own. The audit report requests explanations for discrepancies tied directly to my boss's edits. File manipulations. Timeline inconsistencies. Approval violations. He submits a response filled with qualifiers. May have, likely. To the best of my knowledge. His words are built to create distance between himself and the facts. I'm not asked to submit anything. That silence is telling. I don't need to defend myself. The evidence defends itself. In a follow-up call, an auditor asks him directly, "Why did you question her competence in a public meeting instead of verifying your concerns with documented evidence privately?" He hesitates. That hesitation is new. Damaging. His authority no longer fills gaps. It exposes them. I keep my posture relaxed, eyes down, listening. When the call ends, he logs off without his usual sign-off. No casual goodbye. Just disconnect. For the first time, I don't feel targeted. I feel finished with the chase. The system has taken over now. And systems are relentless. They don't get tired. They don't forgive. They just follow the logic to its conclusion. My boss reaches out after hours. Personal message. He suggests we reset. He acknowledges miscommunication. He wants to move forward. I read the message twice, then archive it without responding. Any response now would contaminate the record. It would introduce emotion into documentation. It would give him something to reframe. The next day, he CCs me unnecessarily on emails, trying to appear collaborative. It's too visible, too desperate, too late. Leadership notices shifts like this. They indicate pressure, fear. A man trying to rehabilitate his image when the image is already shattered. I continue operating normally. Professional, consistent, unbothered. At lunch, a colleague thanks me quietly for keeping things clean. That's all they say. It's enough. I don't want vindication. I want closure that doesn't require my voice raised or my character defended. The truth is doing the talking now. And it's speaking in full sentences. Formal review meeting is scheduled. This time with leadership present. The external auditors will join. My boss knows what's coming. He presents first. His narrative has softened. Less certainty. More conditionals. He speaks about possible misunderstandings and different interpretations. The confidence is gone. The smoothness is gone. He's apologizing for things he hasn't been accused of yet, which is the same as confessing. When it's my turn, I present nothing new. I've already given them everything. Instead, I walk them through the timeline. Files, approvals, edits made after sign-off. The calendar changes. The impossible data. No adjectives. No tone. Just sequence. Just facts arranged in chronological order. Questions are asked. I answer briefly, directly, without elaboration. I provide document references when asked. I don't perform. I don't defend. I simply witness the logic unfold. Leadership requests a short break. When they return, the atmosphere has shifted entirely. The tone is different. The eye contact is different. They thank us both and say they'll conclude internally. My boss's jaw tightens. He doesn't look at me. His hands are shaking slightly. Feel no satisfaction. Only release. This is no longer my burden to carry. I've handed it back to the structure that failed me initially. And now that structure must correct itself. The findings arrive by email. Neutral language. Clear conclusions. Documentation discrepancies confirmed. Inappropriate public commentary noted. Process violations identified. Corrective action outlined. I read it once. Then again. Slowly. The language is measured. Clinical. But the implications are devastating for him. My role is reaffirmed. My work validated. The findings state explicitly. The subject provided incomplete analysis that omitted key risk assessments. These assessments were later presented as independent conclusions. That's theft, stated professionally. My boss is placed on administrative leave pending next steps. There's no announcement. Just absence. One day he's in the office. The next day his badge stops working. His email is transferred. His projects are redistributed. The office breathes differently immediately. People focus. Work flows. Meetings are shorter. Decisions are made faster. It's like removing a weight that everyone was carrying but couldn't name. I'm asked if I need support. Counseling. Time off. I'm fine, I tell them. And I am. Not because I won, but because I didn't have to become someone else to survive this. I stayed intact. I stayed true. I stayed documented. That matters more than outcome. Weeks later, my boss resigns. The email is brief, polite, vague. I've decided to pursue other opportunities. Thank you for the chance to contribute. No mention of me. No apology. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just quiet exit. I don't expect an apology. Apologies are emotional. Accountability is structural. His resignation is his final failure, because it confirms everything. He's not fighting the findings. He's not defending himself. He's leaving because he knows the truth is undefendable. Leadership meets with me to discuss next steps. They ask what I need. I don't ask for vindication. I don't ask for compensation. I ask for clarity, documentation standards, and transparency. We want to implement better processes, they tell me. So this doesn't happen again. Training, I say. New policies on file editing. Clear approval chains. Audit trails on everything. They agree. Policies are updated quietly. Training is scheduled. This isn't revenge. It's correction. The kind that prevents repetition. That's the only kind that lasts. I return to my desk and close the file, literally and mentally. Some stories don't need to be retold. They need to be archived properly. And then they need to be forgotten. Under new leadership, meetings are calmer. Edits are tracked openly in real time. Credit is assigned clearly. When I speak, people listen. Not because of sympathy or drama, but because consistency has been restored. I've earned reliability through patience. I catch myself smiling once during a presentation. Just for a moment. Surprises me how light I feel. The tension I carried for months is gone. I realize how heavy it was only after it lifts. It was a weight I didn't know I was wearing. No one references the past. They don't have to. Systems remember even when people move on. The new documentation standards are in place. The audit trails are visible. The approval chains are transparent. Focus on work again. Not survival. Not defense. Just work. That's the real victory. Not exposure. Not downfall. Not revenge. Stability. 3 months have passed since his resignation. The office has transformed. Not dramatically. Not with celebration. Just quietly. Steadily. People trust their managers again. Decisions are made transparently. Credit is given where credit is earned. I notice how different my shoulders feel. How the knot in my chest has finally untangled itself. I'm eating lunch at my desk when someone stops by. Thank you, they say simply. For not letting him get away with it. I nod. I don't need more words. The system spoke. And speaking through systems is louder than any personal confrontation could ever be. That's what I learned. That's what I'll carry forward. One evening I review my notes from the beginning. The first screenshot. The first timestamp. The first email documenting the cropped context. I consider deleting them. I don't. I move them to a secure archive. Evidence isn't bitterness. It's memory with structure. I think about how close I came to reacting emotionally in that first meeting, and how that would have erased everything I protected. Silence wasn't weakness. It was calibration. It was knowing that the truth doesn't need a voice. Just needs time. Timing wasn't revenge. It was respect for process. I didn't outsmart anyone. I let the truth finish its sentence. And in letting it finish, I discovered something about myself. I have a kind of patience that most people don't understand. That's a skill I'll never lose now. That's a strength I can count on forever. Leadership asks me quietly to mentor others on documentation best practices. No spotlight. No public recognition. Just asking if I'd be willing to teach. I agree. In those sessions I don't tell my story. Teach systems. How to protect your work without paranoia. How to let records speak without accusation. How to document quietly and thoroughly. How to preserve truth. I watch people take notes. I recognize the relief in their faces. They've all experienced something similar. They've all been gaslit or dismissed or had their work stolen. The best defense, I tell them, is a clear record. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just clear. Safety is contagious. So is clarity. My reputation stabilizes. Not as a victim, but as reliable. That distinction matters more than anything else. Reliability outlives drama. Endures. Compounds. I leave each session lighter, knowing the environment is stronger than when I found it. That's a different kind of victory. Quiet one. A year later, an external audit references the changes implemented after the incident. The language is positive, effective, transparent. The organization has implemented comprehensive documentation standards that exceed industry requirements. These changes have resulted in improved accountability and reduced process violations by 87%. I read it once and close the document. That chapter is complete. I'm no longer defined by what happened, but by what held. My work stands on its own now, unshadowed. Clean. Clear. Unquestionable. That was always the goal. Not to be believed, but to be verified. I hear my former boss has taken another role elsewhere. A different company. Fresh start, people say. Feel nothing. No bitterness. No curiosity. No lingering anger. Distance is its own kind of closure. I've learned that outcomes don't need witnesses to be real. Integrity compounds quietly. Grows in the dark. It doesn't announce itself. It just becomes true over time. To focus on what's in front of me. The current project. The team around me. The work that needs doing. That's enough. More than enough. Sometimes power questions your sanity to protect its narrative. Sometimes authority moves first, speaks loudest, and hopes you'll believe that volume equals truth. I learned you don't answer power with volume. You don't answer authority with desperation or tears or outrage. You answer it with records. Clean records. Time-stamped records. Documented records. Patient records. When the truth finally speaks, it doesn't shout. It doesn't accuse. It doesn't perform. It simply stands there, undeniable and unavoidable, while everything false collapses around it. That's the real power. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just truth allowed to finish what it started. And silence strong enough to make the rest of the world listen.